Yes, people can be interested in new ideas when those ideas are expressed clearly and effectively.
Welcome to the Research and Destroy podcast. Here's what we do. Step 1, we take a subject. Step 2, research the shit out of that subject. And Step 3, destroy the subject as we discuss what we found. With your hosts, John, Adam, and Justin.
I'm John.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Justin.
I'm
okay.
Justin.
Success.
And I'm Justin.
Children.
Yeah. In today's episode, we're talking about Florida. So if you listen to the last episode, we kept making references. Yeah. You're from there. Or not from there, I guess. We kept making references to Florida, and we kept saying, well, we should record a podcast on this. Well, at the end of the last podcast, we decided, let's seriously record a podcast about Florida. We all grew up there, in our formative years. And, after high school and college, I guess we didn't all move away. I still live here.
Yeah.
But,
You're in a relatively cool part of Florida.
I am. I mean, I moved away from the town I grew up in, which was a little podunk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's getting better. I was born in New England, but I became a man in Florida.
I was born in New England and became a man in New England before I moved to Florida when I was 10.
And I was born in the Midwest, moved to Texas, and then Florida, where I became a man.
Ooh.
Boo!
Yeah. So
whoa, transcontinental.
Yeah.
This will be a first because this will be the first time we bash something and we actually know something about it from our youth. So we have every right.
Not bashing things.
I'm sorry. I mean educating.
Yeah. You could hear the air quotes in your voice.
Yeah, educating.
Yeah. So, John, you want to start us out? You've actually, hold on. Before we get there, I'm sorry. When did you move here? How old were you when you moved to Florida?
It was 89, so the summer of 89, so I was 7 years old.
And that was after first grade? Second?
After second, so I started third grade in Florida.
Okay, that's exactly what I did. I moved here after second grade, started third grade in Florida.
Yep.
Adam?
Yeah, I came down here at the very beginning of fifth grade, in this Sarasota, Bradenton area.
Okay, yeah, and so we were both in the Melbourne, Central Florida, East Coast area, John. Is that where you moved to first?
Yes, and you can tell that we're not originally from Florida because I think people born in Florida, you can kind of tell they were born in Florida. We sound like we were born into families that moved to Florida. Does that make sense?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
On a scale of 10 to hell no.
No. It was meant as a compliment, but whatever.
Yeah,
Fuck
sure.
you guys. Yeah,
You're saying that people from Florida, in your opinion,
sound like this. They all sound like this in Florida.
There are definitely people. I think if their whole families have lived here, then they kind of have. A lot of people tend to have Southern accents.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still have a couple words that my parents say that I say that people are like, what? And they're just like, why did you say that word like that? I don't say folks. No, that's like a Easter. That's like, I don't know, Baltimore or something. I say like water. I say water a lot. People are like, what the fuck is water? And I'm just like, that's like a Pennsylvania thing, but it's Connecticut too.
Do you guys all still say y'all?
I say y'all.
I say y'all. Yeah.
I don't say y'all.
Well,
I never adapted that.
Yeah.
You think you're better than us?
Moving on.
He doesn't have to take it.
No, I will not answer that.
Yeah. All right, John. So sorry to cut you off earlier, but you want to start us today?
I guess I can if you guys are ready for me to start.
I think you're gonna get us like in the mood for some Florida stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we've recorded our opinions, I think we should investigate to find out whether or not our opinions are based on good reasons.
I feel like I'm going to pop your cherries first here with the Florida stuff is what I'm going to do, really.
I do not like that.
Yeah. So
something I was not prepared for.
I mean, Adam, get your body ready for this, man. And that's
my body. Okay.
He already washed the stank off. Go ahead.
God, that's repulsive.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if we're going for just the general Florida theme, I mean, it's pretty obvious. You have to talk about Florida man. And you know what? Not to assume genders, but you got to talk about Florida woman as well. And so for that matter, you might as well just talk about Florida headlines, right? Because for some reason, this has been going on since like 2013, I want to say, when like Florida man became a meme based, you guys.
Can you talk about Florida man a little bit?
Well,
like,
yeah,
what is it?
What a coincidence. I was just about to do that. So in 2013, Florida man became a whole meme because it's pretty standard that all the weird news stories all start out with Florida man. Like, for example, Florida man punched by monkey, or Florida man struck. That is an actual one, by the way. Or Florida man. I'm sorry. Or Florida man struck by lightning. That's kind of a whatever. You can't really make fun of him for that, but probably shouldn't have been out in a lightning storm, right? Like,
lightning capital of the world. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's called that for a reason. Stay inside.
Probably running from
lightning.
the monkey.
You gotta play the odds there. Like, is it monkey or lightning? Like, which one do you want? So this started in like 2013, Florida man, essentially. Actually, the myth of it has kind of been sort of downplayed. Maybe I said that wrong. The myth of it has been kind of, from what I've found, the research I've done, it turns out that like news outlets actually have more freedom to publish whatever they want there. So you probably hear more weird stories coming out of Florida than you would in other states just because of the laws. But either way, it's still freaking funny because, whatever. So
monkeys, yeah.
Which actually makes that the most Florida man story of all. Florida man makes bad Florida stories more accessible to the rest of the world. So yeah, that's it all comes around. It's full circle, Yeah. So, by the way, when you Google Florida man, my God, what you find, it's just pure gold. And a lot of it, like, you don't really want to read the stories because the headlines are kind of enough for you. But, say the word and I'll throw in a story.
Before you start that, do you think that the rest of the world thinks of Florida as kind of the theme around Florida man? Do you think the whole Florida or the whole country thinks of Florida like that?
I think they do now. However, having lived in California now, I meet people that are native Californians. And to be honest, they have no clue. They know about the funny headlines and the funny stories, but they're still like, I bet Florida's kind of a cool place, right? And, sometimes I'll when I was doing Lyft for a little while, like I get somebody in the car like, oh yeah, I've been to Florida. Florida's awesome. I'm like, where did you hang out? And they're like, oh, I was in Miami and like the Keys and then Miami. And I was like, oh, okay. You were in like
cool part.
Yeah, you were in like the cool parts of Florida, basically, right? Like you weren't in like the backwoods sections of like Alachua County, where there's like trailer parks and meth and men who have year-long sexual relationships with dolphins. That is also a headline. By the way,
I like it.
And by the way, he claimed that the dolphin seduced him. So,
did you see what it was wearing?
But there's a lot of interest. I mean, the worst part about that story is his 400-pound wife was attacked by a herd of manatees, and that's just you can't write that stuff. You can't write. I mean, you can write it, but you're writing the truth.
Yeah,
you can't make it up. Oh man. So I mean, yeah. So now this is kind of like, let's be fair. We'll play devil's advocate with Florida, okay? Because it's not the worst state, but we all lived there. We know when people make fun of it. We know what they're saying. And we've seen what they're talking about when they make fun of Florida, right? Like we've sort of, I mean, do you guys all have like a personal Florida story yourselves? Like a standard Florida story that happened to you?
I probably need a minute to think of it, but yeah, I'm sure I do have.
Oh yeah.
True.
I've encountered Florida man in my real life, if that's what you mean.
You don't want to, well, don't name names. But,
no, but I mean, just in general, I've encountered like the kinds of people that end up in Florida man stories.
I think what we'll learn in this podcast is that we've all encountered a Florida man at some point in our life, right? We've all encountered that person that had an active meth lab in their pants.
I used to work with a guy that he was. It was when I was in my early 20s, but he was like 28, and I worked at Steak and Shake like in high school, or right after high school, and he had no teeth because they all fell out because drugs, meth, and I was like, huh. And he had like dentures or whatever at like a super young age, and I was like, why do you don't have any teeth? And that's before I'd even really heard of meth. Classic Florida man type behavior. Sorry.
So I mean, yeah, no, but we all no, that's fine. We all have those types of those encounters. Like if you've lived in Florida or even if you live like around Florida, I'm not going to insult the other states, but Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana.
I'm not going to insult the other states. Here's the list.
Well, here we go.
But Florida man doesn't stop at the border is all I'm saying. You know what I mean? So, the Florida man, just to give you an example, is the type of guy that gets shot in the leg by his dog with a 9mm handgun. That's just to give you an example. Or, that time, do you guys remember the time a mysterious Lego man washed up on a Florida beach?
What?
Do you remember? You don't remember this?
No.
This happened 7 years ago.
Okay. What's the story?
Okay. So in Siesta Key, which to be very honest, I don't even know where Siesta Key is.
What? That's my beach.
What?
It's on the West Coast.
I thought so because it says it's near
West
Sarasota. Yeah. Oh yeah. Did we all say where we're from in Florida, or did we
Yeah, we did.
go in? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're all basically in the same section of Florida, but Adam's from the west part and you and I are from the east part, Justin. So the central Florida area. Yeah. Gotcha. So anyways, yeah. So this isn't even really an embarrassing story. I just found it fascinating. So a giant, I remember when this happened. And
it was giant?
It was 8 feet tall, an 8-foot tall Lego man. It washed up in Siesta Key.
Murder victim.
Did they even make 8-foot tall?
Adam, you just have to believe you can. That's all there is to it.
All right.
Wait,
okay.
it was made out of Legos, or it was the Lego man?
No, not made out of Legos, because that wouldn't. Well, that could work, I guess. But 8 feet.
It was like Honey, I Blew Up the Kids, but they blew up a Lego man instead. Right?
Yes. And
yes.
Okay.
Excellent explanation.
Got it.
It was 8 feet tall and 100 pounds, which is pretty much the standard Florida meth head, anyways, right? So
8 feet tall. It's like a methy Yeti.
It's like a Shaquille O'Neal, formerly of the Orlando Magic, went on a serious diet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of nothing but meth.
Yeah. He'd probably talk clearer anyways, but I mean, whatever. Shaquille O'Neal, by the way, just another person who escaped Florida, so good for him. So
He did, yeah.
this thing was actually made out of fiberglass, and he had a green shirt on that said, "No real than you are." So I think the English was off there a little bit. It's either someone who's not good at typing, skipped a word and didn't realize it when they were typing it out, or it's somebody translated European to English and they skipped one word in there. It just said "no real than you are," which I think they meant to say "no more real than you are," I guess. Yeah.
So did the more just wash off and there was a gap in the words?
That no, because I'm looking at the picture and it's literally they plan to write "no real than you are," and he looks angry. The Lego man looks pissed. He's got in pure Florida fashion, by the way. It's got the yellow Lego man head, of course, and you can see all of the Lego arm, which means that the green thing is a tank top, which is basically a Florida tuxedo. Am I wrong?
Suns out, guns out,
Suns out, guns out.
It's spelled wrong. It's perfect. Yeah. Did it float?
Oh, well, it's made out of fiberglass.
But it weighed 100 pounds. But it's hollow.
Like a boat.
But it's hollow. Justin's right. It's probably hollow. Yeah.
Is this a Cuban raft? And that might sound racist to people that don't live in Florida, but honestly, that should happen all the damn time.
Yes, it does. Yeah. I mean, it's nothing racist about that at all. That happens all the time.
But how would it be on that coast?
I don't know. Maybe just took him into the Gulf.
Yeah, because the Gulf Stream would take you up that way.
The question is, how long could you survive on an 8-foot-long Lego man before contemplating your existence getting over to the United States?
Especially with that message staring you in the face.
Just imagine how embarrassing, you're going to die on a Lego man in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. You know what I mean? That's just, you're dead, so it doesn't matter.
Like
but
this. As you slowly slip into the ocean, holding on his hand.
I always said Legos would be the death of me.
Yeah. Just not like this.
Oddly enough, the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office took it into custody.
Did they think there was stuff in it?
No, I don't know. Or they thought
you crack it open, it's full of drugs.
Or they thought it was a refugee from Holland or something, because that's where Legos are made, and got to build a wall, right? So
50 pounds of meth and 50 pounds of a man who's 8 feet tall who's on meth.
Such a Florida story. Such a Florida story.
You guys got me.
But I love that one. That one. I was trying not to, that's just to sort of wet your beak because that's not really embarrassing. It's just very interesting,
weird.
right?
Like it's not always crimes. Like sometimes it's just weird behavior, right? Or weird.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
Why is so much weird stuff happen here? Because I've wondered why isn't there like a New Jersey man story? Like I'm sure weird stuff happens there.
So here's what I found when I lived in Florida. Here's this. See if you guys can confirm this. Okay. A lot of people that I knew, not you guys, a lot of people that I knew that moved there as they were, not like when we were young when we moved there, but they were older when they moved down there voluntarily. A lot of people moved to Florida to escape a shady past. It's almost like a lot of people moved there that they like left a lot of baggage behind and like, I'm going to start fresh in Florida. I've met a lot of people like that. And if there's a lot of people in that place because they're like, oh, it's a nice tropical paradise, then it's like a tropical paradise of convicts. It's like this crazy place that people are just like insane still, and they don't belong
there. Put that whole thing on the slogan that just says a nice tropical paradise. They don't put of convicts.
Yeah, it's like gross Australia. You know what I mean?
Which is saying something, I guess.
No, Adam, you're right. Actually, speaking of which, I remember when I lived in Melbourne, Florida. Are we naming names here? Is that cool? Like, can we say cities? Are we insulting?
Yeah, cities are fine. Not people's names, though.
Okay, good. Yeah. So when we lived in Melbourne, Florida, I seem to remember there being a story about there was a particular restaurant there that I think Al Capone, whenever he was doing his illegal stuff, he would come up from Miami. And obviously, I guess you'd be coming up US 1, which is the highway that runs along the East Coast, if you're not going to use 95, obviously. So he'd come up US 1, and he had this like a restaurant in Melbourne, in like downtown Melbourne, Florida. And I think so. I mean, when you say you might be right. Yeah, I can't remember the name, but I do remember.
Was it a Shoney's?
No. No. I mean.
Did it have live reggaeton? That sounds just like it.
Well, if it's a Florida, it was probably a Waffle House, if anything. But I mean, that's the. But I do remember if you're bringing up the fact that it's basically a convict state where people from like up north, Chicago, New York came down. Like I can confirm that. I think you're right there. But like my parents moved there to escape like taxes and snow, basically. So yeah.
I mean, that's another reason why old people move there. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
There's just I met some weird people down there that were just like, oh yeah, I had all this weird stuff happen to me up there, but that's not going to follow me down here. And I was like, well, you're still fucking crazy. You know what I mean?
Right. So the problem isn't the things, the problem is you.
Yeah.
Right.
But like in Melbourne, like, like I said, I think Al Capone used to like stop in Melbourne at some restaurant or he owned a restaurant there or something. But also in downtown Melbourne is where like Jim Morrison was born, the singer of the Doors. So like Florida, it has claims to nice stuff. It's a
huge
too.
Populated state. Like, of course, there's going to be some diamonds in the rough here.
Yeah. If you throw darts, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff in Florida too. Like, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that came out of Florida. Like, there's a lot of bands from like Ocala and Gainesville. Like, a lot of bands that I still like and people that I still like that like popped out of that whole area. So
it's true. Limp Bizkit, great band. I mean,
where did they come from?
Jacksonville, Florida, my friend.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a backwards baseball cap. It makes sense.
Yeah. Straight.
I think Creed came from Florida.
Well, you're going on a tangent. I would say the cool bands.
You're really sinking his battleship here, buddy.
Well, I was actually joking when I said Limp Bizkit, but yeah.
Right.
It's been downhill since I mentioned.
But not Jim, when you said Creed?
No.
Listen, John, you know what? Have whatever feelings you want to have. We'll accept you with arms wide open.
No.
And that will be my sacrifice. All right, go ahead.
Oof. Well, it sounds like it's your way or the highway on this podcast, Justin. So whatever. Jesus. That's cool. I mean, there's only one reason I participate in this, and it's all for the nookie. So
yeah.
Well, hey man,
you got another one?
Get me out.
I want this podcast to be higher. I'm tired of it being. I'm tired of it being my own prison.
No.
But of course, I mean, we could have a podcast where we start practicing Santeria. I mean, if you guys are into that sort of a thing. So
yeah, I guess I'm torn.
Yeah.
Jesus Lord.
All right.
I tried to make this cool.
You did, and that's not what this life's for.
Total. God.
All right, I'm done. For now.
Well, as bad as your guys' jokes are, it's not as bad as a guy having sex with his pit bull in his yard at as his neighbors beg him to stop.
Please tell me the pit bull seduced him.
No, I think this is purely like, pit bulls, they have to be seduced by the man, I think is what it is. So
The craziest thing about these Florida man stories is it's all the same Florida man,
What? What do you mean?
It's all the same guy.
It's the same guy.
Well,
I don't know that, but it's really actually just one
Just
guy.
one
Had all these-
completely bananas dude.
Yeah.
Committing every crime, yeah.
Yeah. What so like do your stories have like a like what happened to the person? Like when he or just like in this story with the dog painting they find out like he got arrested and whatever, or does he have like a track record? Like do you know any of that stuff from what your research or not really?
I can tell you one thing. His eyes are bugging out of his head in his mugshot. They are just like I thought I had like giant bug eyes coming out of my skull, but this guy is just like boom. It's crazy. I mean,
yeah, that's the math.
I mean, it depends what you're looking for. Like, there's a Florida woman that called 911 3 times because McDonald's shorted her on chicken nuggets. I mean, it
adds up. I guess I get it.
That's a federal offense.
Yeah.
It adds up. I mean, there's that time like a guy dressed up as Darth Vader broke into a convenience store to try and rob it. I'm sorry. Well, he's got like Nikes on. Like, I mean, if you're gonna dress as Darth Vader, like just go all the way. I don't know.
Not black Nikes, just like regular basketball shoes.
The thing is, like, you could just publish all the headlines. Like, you can read the story, but what are you going to get out of it? The person went to jail because they're an idiot, right?
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yeah. So when a 400-pound woman, like I said, survives sexual assault by a herd of manatees, is it one of those things where you just say you asked for this? Like, is it like, you know what I mean?
That's
like
victim blaming, John. You can't do that. I don't care if you're getting blasted go ahead.
By a sea cow. Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah. I think that's the state animal, right?
I'm pretty sure it's not.
Oh, okay. What is the state animal?
I don't know. Florida state. Florida panther.
I think you're right, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I googled it.
Yeah. You did, really?
Yeah.
The one thing I never saw when I was in Florida, a panther, ever.
Yeah, and me either.
Yeah, plenty of gators, plenty of manatees. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've seen a panther once when I was down there.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
Lucky guy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I don't know. I was on meth at the time.
Florida man claims he sees Florida panther.
Is clearly a liar. I mean,
oh, you know what? My whole life I thought a Florida panther had black fur.
No, I think they're blonde.
Yeah, I did not realize that.
Is blonde the right word?
Yeah, I think so. Like
Do you say it's a blonde panther?
Yeah, I mean I don't know, but I know what you're talking about. Like that kind of like the
worst, like the worst Avenger. You know what I mean? Blonde panther.
You're an idiot. I think he's called Captain America.
Captain America, also AKA Blonde Panther. That's good.
Yeah, not bad.
I mean, Adam, even though you were on meth at the time you spotted that panther, at least you didn't shoot someone in the butt because you don't like sea turtles.
You don't know that.
He was never caught.
Did you guys, since we all lived on the coast, basically, did you guys ever do that thing where like people would go to the beach at night just to watch the sea turtles lay eggs?
Yep.
Is that like, do you look back on that now and think it's kind of trashy?
I mean, I wasn't messing with them, so no. It's interesting.
It's true.
Cool.
I was purposely being respectful. I wasn't taking too many photos.
I will say that I think it's probably one of the few truly authentic things you can do in Florida. Because like one of the big reasons for and one of the big impetuses for me leaving Florida to begin with was that I felt like the place in general was a very unauthentic place. There are very few authentic Florida things in Florida. Everything else seems like it's like a carryover from some other state or some other culture or whatever. Like I feel like its culture is a beach culture. And that's the most authentic thing that it has in some weird old crab shacks or whatever. But I think outside of that, everything else seems really, really, really cheesy and like really crappily done and implemented. It's like there's a Hard Rock for every type of restaurant in the world. Like, that's what it feels like in Florida. Like everything is a Hard Rock, and you're like, God damn it.
Is it like a melting pot of the U.S.? Like you just go there when you don't want to spend time in your state anymore, or when your reputation in your own state is
it's
done?
That, but at like super low cost and production value.
Yeah, it is cheaper to live
Yeah.
there. That's for damn sure.
So like it's well, like I bet Applebee's is thriving here, frankly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's never been
Applebee's-
hotter.
That may be
Listen.
a conversation before we started recording. I don't remember now.
Which is fine. Listen, Applebee's, you can't beat 2 for $1 like every day, right? Don't they do that like from 5 to
Have
7,
you-
2 for 1?
Dude, we went there.
I mean, you
okay.
can if the food isn't good.
Yes. So there was a time, John, you and I went to Applebee's and
Yes.
I ordered a steak.
Yes.
And they brought out, I'm pretty sure it was the bottom of a shoe. Like it was the croc, the sandal with the one strap.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, what?
We call that a Florida steak, is what
Yeah.
that is. It's just a flip flop that's been laying out in the sun for like a week, basically. So
Just strap on steak.
Somebody had stepped in paint on it, and it's bad.
it was probably worn by the guy that danced on the top of a police vehicle to ward off vampires. So
Well,
It probably,
was he bitten by a vampire or something?
no, but he
Then it
does own
worked.
He does own a shooting range that serves alcohol. So
Dude, I'm not joking. Listen, in Melbourne, there is literally a restaurant that has a bar on one side and a shooting range on the other.
yep.
Granted, they're at least smart enough to have rules that say if you are there drinking, they put a stamp on your hand. So you can't go next door and shoot the guns.
Don't cross that line. Don't you cross
I mean,
that line.
I think you have to leave to go out, but
I will leave you guys, but I don't want to be stepping on whatever you guys are bringing to the podcast. But I will leave you with this headline: Florida woman stabs boyfriend for farting on her.
But when he stabbed him, he hit like the like a balloon.
I will be peppering these in more often while you guys are talking, whenever they are, whenever they're needed. So, but
Does
I
that
will
kind of wrap
divert
up
over.
your-
There's so goddamn many of these, and I just wanted to like get an overview of Florida in general and like the vibe of like Florida man and what it is to everybody in the country. Because I don't like tell people I never lived in Florida, but I'll say, yeah, I lived there for the majority of my life, but I'm originally from New England. I always throw that in there type of thing just to be like, I'm not from Florida. Like I lived there. I appreciated it. But, man, that humidity.
Dude, oh my God, it's like a hot, sucky swamp. It is the worst.
It is. It's bad. Yeah. I don't know. Like looking back on it now, living in California, just with like, the change in seasons, it's just like, man, I don't know. I couldn't do the humidity
even compared
anymore,
to where I used to live, moving up here, like it got crisp here, where it didn't really have that didn't happen in Central Florida. Like, so I'm a couple hours north of where I grew up.
Yep.
And like leaves change. Like we have trees in our yard where the leaves change color and fall off, and I'm like, oh, like a season. Like it doesn't snow or anything like that, but it's at least fall happens.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, fall does happen, but there was that thing that happened in Florida about 5 years ago where herpes-infected monkeys were terrorizing Florida. So just a caution. Like you get a little taste of fall, but there are herpes-infected monkeys somewhere around that stage.
And there's like huge like wild anacondas that escape from zoos and start like eating dogs and stuff.
There are huge anacondas. They don't
Alligators.
escape from zoos. You're 2/3 of the way right. They escaped from some white trash person. Oh, see now, I shouldn't have done that. I'm stepping on shoes, or boots,
Or Applebee's steaks.
It's some white trash person that like they couldn't be fine with a cat or a dog because they're a Florida man. They have to have like a reptile. You know what I mean? They have to have like the goddamn heated tank with like the big stupid snake in there that you can't pet or like, hug or like, rub its face or whatever you do with dogs and cats.
Yeah. You gotta feed it mammals is what you have to do. That's how you show it love.
It's a stupid goddamn snake, and then when it gets too big, you have to release it into the swamps, and it's not native to like North America, so like it starts eating all the other stuff and screwing up all the wildlife in Florida. And goddamn Florida man.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean So
That reminds me of a very brief story that I had in college when I met you guys. I don't know if you guys were there for this party, but we had a friend there that will go nameless that was rather Florida based, and he had a bunch of snakes, but not in college, luckily. And he was had a snake tattoo on his back, and he would like go out at this party. Had a couple drinks going, and we were just having playing beer pong, whatever the heck. And we're sitting in there, and then like. He would leave. He left, and we're like, "Oh, where is he?" And he came back like a half hour later, and he was holding this baby alligator that he caught in like the lake nearby. Yeah, he was like, "Hey guys, I got a gator." We're like,
That's
cool. What do we do with it now? He was like, "You guys want to pet it?" And like people were like touching it and stuff, and then we didn't know where it went. And then like a little couple, like maybe like within the next like 20, 30 minutes, like a girl that was going to the bathroom and they're like lost her shit. And she was like, "There's an alligator in the bathtub." Like, I did not know that was in there. And like people were like losing it for a while. And then the next morning came and the alligator was still in the bathtub. And then so they had to, like, go like let him out. It just stayed in there overnight.
Did it like try to bite people when you pick it up?
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
I mean, it was maybe like 2.5 feet long, maybe.
That's
I don't know.
That's big.
I don't know if that memory sounds vaguely familiar to me, but I don't know if it's because you and I were at this party, Justin and Adam, or if it's just because I've been to plenty of Florida parties where somebody caught an alligator and decided to bring it into the house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's just a Florida
So
thing.
many.
That could be one of many parties.
So
It does sound familiar, but also they used to have, remember like during game days, they would like walk down the street with like baby alligators you could pet. So that might be what I'm remembering.
Did they really?
Yeah, they would have like you know, like the people would be by, and then like they'd let kids like touch the alligator and have its like mouth.
Is this in Gainesville specifically for like Florida Gators games?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
I mean, it wasn't like part of UF's thing. It would be just people walking down with these alligators.
Yeah, it was UF's thing. There's alligators were in your classrooms just taking tests.
Taking math tests. All right.
They're called meth tests in Florida, Justin.
How dare you?
Mathematics.
Yeah. I got to take my mathematics test. They use the metric system because it's all grams. All right. Adam?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I believe in you.
All right. Transitioning off of the Florida man story. I did not do Florida man stories. I did some stuff based off my experiences living in Florida and a pretty recent experience over the past year or so. Not any of that.
Yeah.
Get it out of your head. The experience that I'm talking about is the journey to Solomon's Castle.
Ooh, what is
possibly one of the greatest landmarks of Florida, maybe of the world.
Solomon's Castle? I've never heard of this.
So when you think of Solomon's Castle, you think Solomon. I must have heard that. What is that? Biblical? You know,
Yeah, it
what
is.
is that? Right?
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I didn't know Solomon built a castle. You'd
Yeah.
be right. This dude built this recently. I mean, within the past like 50, 60 years. And this guy's insane. He recently passed away, so sorry. But
Did you kill him?
we're still gonna crush on this thing. This is it is so bad. Okay, I'll let you guys judge though. Okay, so I went down there recently to visit my family, and my brother was there. We went to this thing, and my mom for a while had been wanting to go see this thing because it was like in some of those tour books and guidebooks for the area. And my mom was like, "Let's just do this thing," because I've wanted to do it for a long time. And we're like, okay, we'll go for a day trip.
It's near where your parents live?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
It took us like maybe less than 30 minutes to get there. It's like out in these backwoods. This area of Florida, I don't even know what the name of it is called. It's like basically kind of like, I don't know if you guys have ever been to Mayaca State Park, but it's kind of like that open woods, like that Florida kind of woods. That's like this kind of backwoodsy, damp. It might be like a pond nearby, but it's not like lake land. It's just like this overgrown like trees and shit. It's like not even like
scrubland.
It's
kind of.
yeah. There's a lot of that in Florida.
Are there palmetto bushes everywhere?
Yeah,
Or is it,
yeah.
Okay. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I don't know what to call that, but that's like the Florida forest. It's like this weird, not nice, not
forest.
Enjoyable to walk through.
It's
Yeah,
sharp and like the pine needles are always pricking you. There's this big tall pine trees that
there's
apparently
fire ants everywhere.
Fire ants. Oh, fire ants. And apparently, did you know scorpions live under the bark of those pine trees, by the way?
No.
I did not know that.
I think that might be a myth that my parents told me. But either way, Adam, please finish your
No
story.
playing
I
outside,
believe you.
John.
God forbid you touch those trees.
Yeah.
So we went to this thing about 30 minutes away. We drove there, and
What's it called again?
it's called Solomon's Castle.
Solomon's Castle.
This guy named Solomon, I guess, I don't know if that's his actual name or not. He built this thing out in the middle of nowhere, and it was initially like just a project that he had. Okay, so a little bit of backstory for this dude. This guy, he recently passed away. I think it was like in his like mid to late 80s. He looks like an old pirate / wizard. he's just like this bearded glassed guy that is like all hunched over, that's like all squirrely and just wild. And this place he built initially as a project, and eventually turned into be like his place where he could display his art pieces. Okay. So
is that so he's like a creative guy? That's why he's building this castle.
He's a creative guy. He's bonkers.
Is this that guy that shows up to like the local Florida dive bar and he's got like a parrot on his shoulder or some exotic animal, and like everybody around there is like, he's like the all-star of that town, and like, hey, there's Smokey, you know what I mean? He shows, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, that's Solomon. Yeah,
he looks like Popeye in like in his 90s. He looks like he's a kind of like assisted living facility. Yeah, he looks like that. He looks like that.
It's not bad.
So we get there. As we get there, there's just a gate out front. It's a dirt road. There's a gate out front that's just permanently open, like a metal gate. And you go drive in there. No. This is like in the middle of this is in the woods. No. This is in the woods.
Yeah,
who builds a castle in the woods nowadays?
So he like bought clearly he bought a huge plot of land.
There's a big bunch of land. Yeah.
Okay.
I looked up the address. It's in a city called Ona, Florida, as in Ona, like Ona. City. You know what I mean? Yeah.
City's taken very loosely.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
It is dirt road town.
Shit.
So he built this 12,000 square foot castle over some years of his life.
How much?
This castle, 12,000 square foot.
God.
Let me send a quick. I think just for you guys, a quick picture so you have a little. But I'll describe it. This castle, it looks like it's made out of like steel or something. There are stained glass windows, etc. There's electricity inside. It's actually like a working house. However, there are aluminum plating plates that were used from a local newspaper down the road. So like they used to use these aluminum plates to print the papers up against. Okay. And he just like kept grabbing them. So initially you're like, wow, what a creative man. Sure, he built the whole place out of this, right? And he's got, from afar, this is like a cool little thing. It's like a nice, cool playhouse for a kid or something. Yeah, it's interesting looking.
It like literally looks like a castle. It looks like a castle like the way a kid would imagine it. I mean, that S above the thing. And then covered in tinfoil.
Yep.
It looks like it's made out of paper mache.
A perfect description. He built this whole thing and all this stuff he likes to build stuff out of junk and free stuff. Okay. That's why he has all these weird stuff.
Building stuff out of junk is real big in Florida.
You're right. Yeah.
There are a lot of just weird like junkyards and like yard sales that have all this old junk and stuff. I don't think so.
What was that pizza place in Gainesville that we all used to go to?
Satchel's. That place is, but that's like it.
They have junk everywhere though, right?
Yeah, but it's like eclectic. And that's kind of the kitsch. Like they're not trying to be like, this is really good. It's like, it's just interesting and fun.
Yeah, it's more hipster than white trash, but but they do meet the Florida standard of having junk everywhere. So they had like old garbage everywhere, and I was like, but pizza was amazing.
Did you ever go out to the flea market here? You ever been to the flea market here in Gainesville? Either of you guys?
In Gainesville? No.
Not in Gainesville.
So I've only been there once or twice. And they have a section that's like covered hallways, and then there's a section where tables that are just always outside have all the stuff you can buy that's always sitting outside. So it's like it's like old stereo systems, but that have just been sitting outside for 2 to 4, 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
It's just tables that are falling apart, covered in garbage that's falling apart, that people sit outside every day in a chair going, you want to buy this? And it's like, I don't get it. I don't understand the draw.
Can we name other things that you find at a Florida flea market? Like, just like real quick off the top of your head.
I will tell you something right now. There's a place next to me called Red Barn Flea Market where I grew up.
Yes.
We used to go there sometimes. I bought a blow dart gun there. They also had. I also bought nunchucks there.
Did.
I bought a pirate flag at our flea market.
I was just about to say a Confederate flag is like the standard at any Florida flea market. I
didn't buy a Confederate flag. I bought a
Confederate flag. Yeah.
A pirate flag. Yeah, that's.
Well, shoot, you can probably get a Confederate flag with the pirate skull and crossbones in the middle of it too at a Florida flea market if you really look hard enough.
Close enough.
Yeah.
There was a place there in that flea market that was massive that you could go to and you could ask for. From what I remember, I mean, this is a story, but I remember this. You could go to a certain place and ask the right questions for those washers and dryers that were there, and they would sell you firearms.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Nowhere else in the country can you get that. And by the way, ironically, going back to the flags for a second,
it's like money.
That's good. Yeah,
not bad.
You really shoot from the hip there, Justin. Mm-hmm. But the thing that's ironic about a Florida flea market is that you can find the Confederate flag, and right next to it, the flag of Cuba for some reason, which you'd feel like they shouldn't be like sold next to each other. But whatever.
You can't buy a Confederate flag in Walmart.
Yes, you can. I guarantee you can. I will Google it right now.
I mean, maybe, but you might be.
I want that in my search history. Yeah.
You're on a list. All right.
So Solomon
Castle,
is a junk collector and a creator of junk stuff.
Yes, he is.
Kind of like the Brave Little Toaster type of thing, where there's always like weird stuff like in this shop. That's what his house is kind of like, but way more stuff. So people asked him in the beginning why he bought all these acres of land, and he said the land was cheap, and so was I. And continuing on,
classic job, Solomon.
He is this article that I'm reading here referencing. The guy who is writing the article says that he's the funniest guy you'll ever meet. Now, this needs to be taken with many, many grains of salt, because this guy is the cheesiest. So you guys would laugh and hate this guy because he is the cheesiest pun master that has ever existed. Ever.
How dare you, Adam? How dare you?
If you can't appreciate high art, man, I don't.
He made many cool things, but his puns were really where it was at.
I see.
He is truly a king of puns, but he's better known to be the Rembrandt of reclamation or the DaVinci of debris.
Not bad.
I'm sure these are both self-created titles. These are we're not even there yet.
That's just
so
fancy wordplay.
It is. That's from the writer. That's not from Solomon. That's not from Howard Solomon. His name is Howard.
Oh,
so he
Howard's
built
castle
a levee.
doesn't have that same ring.
It doesn't have that same. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. There was a bunch of water on the property. He built the levee, pumped the water out, and then he built a moat kind of around the castle. And around that moat, inside that moat, he built a big old ark, and he calls it the boat in a moat.
I like that. I like that a lot.
It only goes downhill from here.
This man really is the DaVinci of debris.
Inside that boat now is the restaurant that he houses on the property.
Housed, he's dead. Respect.
It is a big 16th century Spanish style galleon boat that has masts, sails, cannons, and stuff. But he made it all himself out of reclaimed wood and random stuff. Sounds really cool.
Floating?
No, it's just down there. There's hardly any water in this thing now that he pumped a lot of it out. And when we saw it, there was no water in there. It was just sitting in there.
Yeah.
So continuing on, I will tell you, this place, besides that, around this place, there are metal creations that he's made out of just bent metal and things. There's a really gross outhouse. Pulling into the place, when you pull into the place, it's just a lot. In Florida, 9 times out of 10, if you go to a place that isn't in the city of Florida, you're going to be parking your car on this gravel, this rocky, shelly gravel.
Yeah,
that's what this was in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, just a
rectangle, and it's just there. It's cheap and it's there.
It's cheap.
So it was that, and we're just okay, we know what we're getting into. We waited for tickets, which cost about $20, I believe, at the time per person. The tour is supposedly about an hour long, though so long. I think it might have been an hour and a half.
Was it worth it? Did you learn things, or did you just look at his art?
It is not worth it. It is real fucking bad. So some guy out of this little shed sold us some tickets, told us when the tour was going to start, because there's tour guides. There's a couple tour guides. He had since passed, the artist himself, the Da Vinci. And they had been doing his same tour now with his same, because he used to get the tours himself. Now it's the other people that know his shtick, so they say it in the exact same way that he would say stuff. And everything in this castle. Okay, this castle, by the way, 12,000 square feet, loaded to the brim with shit that he's made. I'm talking tchotchkes and clocks and little carvings and statues and just room to room, just wall to ceiling, just stuff. And you go through it, and you only get pointed out maybe a quarter of the stuff, and everything is a pun. Every piece.
What do you mean?
Of art.
What's an example?
He has one. I'll show you after this podcast. I'll link you a video that has some of the original of him going around doing it.
We should put this stuff in the post with the podcast.
We definitely should. I couldn't think of all the things right because everything just made me roll my eyes so hard that I couldn't stick anything in my brain for longer than 2 seconds before I was must erase this information immediately. But
That's your problem, man. That's your problem.
I watched this video again and I was it all came back to me. So there's a room in this video. I'll give you an example from within this video when I watched it again too. And the way that he talks. Okay, picture this: you're in a group of about 10 to 15 people. There's one tour guide. You're going room to room. It's dead silent in here. It's just quiet. It's dank. It smells moldy. It's just they had recent flooding, so it was just damp on the floor in there. you're just walking around and you feel in this weird spot. Like, is this place going to fall over?
Does it?
And there's stuff everywhere. I think we're in a time of the year during the winter time when it didn't need to be, but I don't know. I don't know how they could air condition this place.
Because some places smell like they're not air conditioned, or they're not sealed from the weather, so like moisture.
This is not sealed from the weather. This is like
not a chance.
Really shoddy craftsmanship. Yeah. So
like I've been in old Florida houses from like the 30s, and they smell like the air's not always running or something like that, and you get in and it just smells mildewy.
Yeah. This house wasn't built up to any standard, right? This castle. I'm sorry. So there are no guilds involved in creation of this castle. This was this guy. That's it. So we're walking around and it's dead quiet, right? And this guy, we had a female tour guide, but same pitch. And she'd go up to one of the things, and there would be like this turtle shell, like the skeleton of the shell. Good. And then like carved out of the shell on the bottom, there's like a wig, like in the back of the shell. And she'd be like, and this is the turtle and the hair.
Oh God!
And
that's a bad pun,
dude. This entire fucking place, and they go over here, but like this one here, this is a suicide gun, and it's just a shotgun with the barrel bent backwards towards the handle, and you're just like, what the fuck?
Can I borrow that, please?
Oh God! There were like racial jokes in there too. And like one of them was like, I don't remember exactly, but it was like, this is the Jackson 5, but it's now the Jackson 4, and it's one of them is Samuel L. Jackson, and it's like
my God.
It's like weird shit like that, and you're just like, oh, and the pitch never changed. Like the delivery it's impressive because the delivery is the exact same way every pun.
I have a question for you, Adam.
Mm-hmm.
You have your choice of how you're going to die. You either die in a natural accident inside of that museum, or you die on top of a Lego man in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico.
Lego man.
You choose
50
Lego
pounds
man?
of meth in my veins. Yes.
You choose Lego man? Good man.
100%.
It's a wise move. It's a wise move.
At least there's some mystery in there. But like, I wonder what happened here. If you die in that castle, you're like, this guy paid for this tour.
Like the mystery is like, did he seduce the Lego man, or did the Lego man seduce him?
He paid for this racist tour with bad puns everywhere.
This tour is terrible. There's one here too that he said in this article too that I remember too. There is he made this unicycle. And he calls it's a 2-speed unicycle, and then he made he made the guy on the motorcycle from like an old corn planter thing. And he goes, I call this one Evil Corn Evil.
I love it. That's wonderful. That's
every time.
It's like a junk museum, right?
It's a junk museum. Outside,
right, like
there's a black knight and a white knight, like in armor, and he goes, he's like, that's a knight, and that one there is day.
Oh, jeez.
And you're just like, fucking kill me.
Adam, it sounds like you're trying to kill me with these puns.
I promise you, I'm just relaying the information.
Evil Corneval, I just can't, man.
I like that one.
It's brutal. So it's a couple hours of this with a group that's like taking pictures and recording, and they're just like, every time someone says something, you have either the kid or the mom just like, and you're just like, I can't.
Because they're like a little, like, okay, I get what he was doing there, but it's not fun.
Yeah. It's like the stupid stuff you think about in your head for like 1 nanosecond, and you're like, no, I would never say that. He's like, and he goes, fuck it, I'm making an art piece about that all day.
Fuck it, this is my life now. Yeah,
everything.
But isn't that the very essence of what Florida Man is? It's someone who has no like there's no filters, and there's no like, they're just like, the thought just came into my head. I'm just gonna do it. You know what I mean?
Now I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna build a boat in a moat.
He did this for like 60 years though. Like every day, he built something every day of his life once he started, and it's all fun.
Dude, I'll tell you what.
You gotta admire that a little bit.
Yes,
yeah.
I wish I had that kind of like persistence, perseverance.
Yes.
Yeah, but now he got a bunch of shit sitting in a moldy museum. It's terrible. It's garbage.
So what? He felt fulfilled. You know what? I'm on this guy's side now. Me and Howard.
He's fulfilled, but I experienced it. You guys haven't been there.
No, I haven't lived the dream yet.
There's one outside where he built this lighthouse next to the boat, and she's like, "Can you guess what kind of wood he built it out of? Balsa wood." And she's like, "Strange, huh? But that's Why they call it a lighthouse?
Boo. I don't like that.
I'm just like,
I don't like that.
oh.
Like, they're not even clever jokes. They're like cringy jokes.
No!
Like, I like puns when it's a clever play on words, or I mean, sometimes I like just beating a dead horse with puns that are all about the same thing.
This is like where puns go to line up and they get slaughtered, just one after the other.
Well, they get lined up and turn into art.
They shoot themselves with the suicide gun.
Exactly.
So here's the thing, though, Adam. For all the stuff that this guy did he ever get drunk and try to use a taco as his ID?
No, I don't. Well, I don't think so.
Well, somebody in Florida has. So that's all I'm saying.
How good was the taco?
Of course, it's in.
Did you get a shirt while you were there? At least
negative. There was like everything in Florida, there was a gift area that had a bunch of stuff that was totally unrelated to anything that he's ever done, like little gummy alligators and like windmills and like lawn gnomes.
Windmills?
Just like random stuff.
The alligators at least make sense from a Florida perspective.
Yeah. Or like those shell necklaces, or like those shell people or characters.
Oh my god!
Just Florida
the alligator teeth.
There's a gift shop on 75. You ever stopped at that place that says it's like a citrus whatever, and it's got like alligator? Yep. It's like alligator heads and skulls and toenails and
snow globes. Cheap snow
globes. Just a bunch of snowman melted in a. Oh my god! It's like just Florida schlock.
It's a bunch of orange related tchotchkes, like all about like orange, like that. Yeah, this is flavored like an orange. Like That's
what I mean. Like there's just so much like the authentic stuff in Florida is cheesy, and the unauthentic stuff in Florida is just that much worse. It's just terrible. So this place is like the epitome of what I think of when I think of like Florida events and places to go. It is just so terribly done and executed. So before I get off to the Solomon's Castle topic, there are many more puns. I'll link some videos and pictures into the discussion afterwards. We'll kind of link it in there. But
dude, I think before you rush to judgment,
there are stained glass windows.
There are stained glass art pieces in this castle.
That is terrifying, by the way.
I think it might be bread. Who knows what it is? It's a chef with a chef's hat in a square window, and he's carrying a plate with something on it. And then he's putting a basket of
tacos. It's tacos.
It's tacos, yeah. Well, it's his ID,
Yeah, it's a plate of IDs.
Why does he have like black shark eyes though? Like he's got like soulless doll eyes.
Because he thought about it for 1 second and then just did it. That's because how this guy did everything.
Here's filter. The thing. No filter.
This is kind of the laziest stained glass, because you'd have to do a lot more like lead work or whatever to make the pupils and all that, not just be solid dots. Yeah, it's bad.
Stained glass is like a long thing, like a long, hard process.
Yeah, you have to put effort into it to make it look good from far away.
Dude, this dude put effort into stuff.
Well, that's true.
But it was just like, oh, it's done now. I'm out of here. Like, no perfectionist bone in his body.
No.
There's an elevator inside, by the way, that goes from the first floor to the second floor. There is. It only fits like one person, and it moves incredibly slow. It is like it's
Did you get in it?
It goes.
Oh my god, I wouldn't get in that. That's how you die.
No, you don't get in it. It's just part of the tour. They show it to you. It's like some old boat motor or something that he put in and repurposed.
Oh my god.
I feel like everything in Florida runs on repurposed boat motors. Actually,
yeah. That's pretty much everything. Jesus Christ.
You can, by the way, you can rent the bed and breakfast there. You can rent a room in that place if you wish to, if you want to spend your honeymoon there.
Yes.
It's haunted by the ghosts of all these jokes.
Fucking puns keeps you up at night.
Jesus Christ.
That kept me, like, when I was watching that, when I was with my brother too, we were every single second we look at each other, we were just like, God.
Some of his art I don't mind. Some of his art I think is interesting. Most of it's pretty terrible.
There's a lot.
It looks like if a little kid had like a lot of how does he afford all this? Was he rich?
No, he just like found it and got it for free and just like got stuff really cheap.
Did he have a job?
I think he was a full-time artist. Oh. I mean, you can't make this stuff on half the days of the week.
It's true. How could you make night and day?
So I will wrap part of this up by discussing a couple of the TripAdvisor reviews.
Yes.
I like that.
So, first one. This is out of the way and not what I expected. This artist has quite an imagination, but the castle was tin plates and styrofoam. It would be easy to fall through the wall if you leaned against it. Places around the doors were open so bugs and snakes could have gotten in. Lots of art, some okay. The guide tried to make it interesting, but nothing was appealing outside the castle. It's in a low, swampy area, and this artist built a boat that is a restaurant also on the grounds. We went through the castle first and then walked through the boat dining area to a tourist-style gift shop. Bathrooms had orange-stained toilets and sinks, and I have seen better rest stops than this. It was really dirty. It was $12.50 for the castle and $10 for the studio, with a $4 off for the combo. We just did the castle, overpriced, junky, and not worth the stop. Don't recommend. I agree with this person. This one is titled, Life is Too Short to Waste It Here.
Damn! That's fucking terrible.
Savage.
Jesus.
Savage Yelp review.
For nearly $60, we went to have a look at this. This is nearly 3 hours of my life I will never get back.
Hours?
The art
That's a
reminds
lot.
me of a college woodwork shop. The tour guide has a script littered with pointless kindergarten puns in an effort to pad out the tour. There is virtually no input about the man, why, or how the castle was actually built. Typically, it
that's what
ends
I'd be
in a
interested
shop
in.
full of what appears at first glance to be Chinese tat. I can't say for sure. I really couldn't be bothered to stay and look. There is approximately a dozen cars in the car display, which he does have a separate car display you can pay for, which we did see.
Good for him.
But we took a golf cart to get there. But you can't get a good look at them as they're all backed into bays tightly tied together, and all you can do is walk along the front. This area is also surrounded by wood carvings. My advice is save the gas money and the entrance fee.
Damn.
The next one, just
Are there
the title.
any positive? I want to hear the title, but are there?
There
any
are some positive ones.
Okay.
Boring torture. Oh,
Damn.
God.
That's mean.
Yeah. Worst
Jesus.
visit ever.
Yeah.
Junk with an outsized portion of cornball. Future garage sale.
Yeah. That's what it sounds like. I mean,
Was
it's
this place
kind
like?
of-
I was gonna say, was this place like right off the highway, or did you have to
No,
like?
you
take a
had to
dirt
get there.
road? Okay,
You
it's like
really, you have to know how to get there. Like you
Okay,
can't,
yeah.
you won't stumble upon this gem any old day. This is an event. But there are positive reviews. It actually, in general, it has a 4.5 out of 445 reviews on
if you
TripAdvisor.
just want to see, if you're like, so here's the thing: if you go there thinking it's going to be this majestic castle, then you're going to be let down. If you go there
Yeah.
because it's this like crazy zany junk museum, like it's exactly what you're going to get, and it delivers like big time on that front.
Right. The key to this and a lot of things in life is just set the bar extremely low.
yeah, yeah.
Because then you're just gonna be like, wow, that's better than I hoped, you know?
Go into everything with no expectations, and that place will blow your mind.
Yeah, maybe too good.
yeah.
This person said awe-inspiring.
Aw,
Well,
inspiring.
Visit
Yeah.
a castle.
more of a inspiring.
I mean, it's in, dude.
Aw.
Looking, and at first glance, I'm like, okay, somebody built that.
That's yes, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't an opinion. That was just a fact, is what that
Right.
was. You know what
But
I mean?
it's,
You, you weren't complimenting him.
he could have done nothing.
Yeah,
Why
that's
did he
true.
just
That's
do
true.
nothing?
That's a good point. He could have done nothing, but he decided to do something, and now
He's accomplished
has
more
that.
than I've accomplished in my life.
Well,
I'm kind of not joking. Like,
Welcome to
here's
the-
three people that I've never met the guy we're talking about his accomplishments.
welcome to the mid-30s midlife crisis podcast.
No, I just, but what? Yeah, it's just the rest of the episode's me crying and being like, "What choices have I made?"
You
I
know,
don't know.
Justin.
I applaud the guy for all this effort.
You know, I feel you though. But you still have a lot of life left in you, and you could still die winning a cockroach eating contest. I'm telling you, sky is still the limit.
Gross. Florida
That
man,
happened, by
that-
the way.
God,
It happened. Yeah,
that's
Man.
disgusting.
he won, but did he?
Oh, he won the contest. Nice.
Oh yeah, he ate the most cockroaches. Turns out when you do that, you fucking dead.
Gross.
So
yeah, so that's Solomon's Castle. It is as I said, I will link some video of him just doing his little bit of his tour, which you guys need to experience. Feel free to check it out, look it up. I couldn't find even anything about Wikipedia on it, which means maybe that's our job now. It was hard to find a little bit of information on, but luckily there's some stuff on there from what I
There's
remember
lots
too.
of pictures.
Yeah,
even Wikipedia is like hands off, not touching this one.
Boring torture.
art.
Yeah.
Yeah, so weird place. If you guys are already in town in the Sarasota area, check it out.
There you go. Nice plug.
Yeah.
Get your puns tested
Yeah.
and stay safe.
Okay. Good advice.
Yeah.
All right. So I thought that was very interesting. I'm going to give my thoughts on Solomon's Castle real quick. While it's not my taste in art, I think that he fulfilled his life's goals. He built a castle. He has a museum. Sure. Just lower the bar, right? Oh.
Yeah. Actually, Adam, I forgot to ask about this. I'm sorry for interrupting, Justin, but when was it built?
I think it was finished within the past 20 years.
Oh, okay.
I don't know the exact date.
So
not that long ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're talking like 1998. So this
Something
thing has like a limited lifespan, I would think. Like eventually, it's gonna a hurricane's gonna come and knock it the fuck over, right? Like,
yeah, when we were there was some rains and it was like getting flooded, and that was the problem. I mean, it's built out of aluminum sheets and styrofoam.
Yeah, so it's done for basically. Eventually,
it's only a
Big
matter
storm,
of time.
yeah. It'll rust.
Yeah.
It's bad. Does aluminum rust?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well.
This thing still looks pretty good. It still looked good when I was there. I mean,
Good. It still
It looked
looked
great.
not deteriorated.
yeah, but styrofoam, that's not a good
No,
component
probably
for
not.
your building. No.
All right. Well, I've got another thing in Florida. So when we started talking about Florida, John, in our kind of like brainstorming discussion, John, you kind of jumped to Florida Man. You're like, oh, we're all gonna do Florida Man. I'm like, oh, nay, I'm not gonna do Florida Man. No. Dude. A beard without a mustache is not a great look. I have to say, it always looks fake.
This guy looks like a stretched out gnome, doesn't he?
Yes. Every time I see that, so Adam just sent me a picture.
this is Solomon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Oh
'cause
my God,
he's not
dude.
helping his case with the goggles.
Oh, he looks. Oh my god, he looks like white trash Amish. Like what the hell?
He
man?
does. He looks like he's Amish. He's been on meth for a long time.
Yeah.
He looks like Amish that like what is it when people go on like Rumspringa?
Oh, yeah,
like where they leave and they like don't go back. Mormon people leave and don't go back.
Yeah, you get like a certain period of time where you're allowed to leave and live a normal
Crazy life. Yeah.
But yeah,
you
you're
get
allowed
to
to
go
live like
wild.
a crazy. Yeah, you get to do stuff like other people, and then they say most of them actually go back. They're like,
Yeah.
screw it, I like being Amish. So
Not
yeah.
this guy though. And
No,
I think it's Mormon
Guess
anyway. It's
it-
not Amish. Is it Mormon?
Is it
No,
Mormon?
Amish. I don't
Ooh,
know.
I don't know.
All right. Well, here let me. So I'm gonna start talking about
All right.
the thing I've researched, which is, and I hope you're ready for it.
Yes.
There's a place in Florida called Cassadaga. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
No. Okay. So the first
No.
time I ever heard of it, I had a teacher in high school that said her father helped found it, and I didn't know what it was. But for whatever reason, the word always stuck with me. And then one day I remembered it and Googled it, and it is Cassadaga. It's actually a Seneca Indian word.
Okay.
And it means water beneath the rocks. And there's also a town in New York
Ooh.
called Cassadaga.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds beautiful.
Okay.
It sounds nice so far. Yeah.
So far, yeah. So far, so good. It's a small town. It's an unincorporated community. I don't know if you know what that means, but it's in Volusia County, Florida, just
Okay.
north of Deltona, and it is especially known for having a large number of psychics and mediums in it.
Oh boy.
It's a spiritualist camp.
And away we go.
Yes, and it's
The
actually
whole town?
yes. It was.
Why is the whole
founded-
town named after Casa? Isn't Casa mean house?
It's a Seneca Indian. You
think
speak
that's
Seneca
Casa.
Indian?
Yeah.
It's not Spanish.
Okay, got it. Psychic town.
Yeah, so it's actually known as, it's been named the psychic capital of the world.
Oh boy.
But so in order to kind of talk about it, I'm going to talk a little bit about spiritualism, which is a religion kind of. It's a religion.
Woo-woo.
Yeah, it's a religious spiritualism is a religious movement based on the belief that the spirits of the dead exist and have the ability and inclination to communicate with the living.
Wow.
The afterlife or spirit world is seen by spiritualists as not like a place where ghosts just go and stay there. They actually go there and like evolve and become like better, more powerful beings, improve themselves, whatever. And that they think mediums can contact the humans, and that they can the spirits can contact people. People can contact spirits or channel through it. You've seen seances and stuff like that, Ouija boards, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that these spirits are capable of providing useful knowledge about moral and ethical issues and other information that humans could never know. Basically, information about God and things like that, the nature of God.
So these people here are smart. These people know a lot of stuff in this town.
I think. Well, let me tell a little bit more of the story here, and then you can be the judge.
I'm just riding this wave. I'm just making
Yes.
sure that I understand.
So,
It's a lot of Santeria, crystal balls. You know, if they had $1 million,
I don't
they'd
think
spend
it's
it all. Type of
son
town.
a bitch. Yeah. Taco. I don't think it's Santeria, but it is things like crystal balls. So there's a guy named George Colby, guy from moved up north. He was a trance medium, and so medium
Like the music?
No, trance medium is like you go into a trance and channel a spirit.
Oh.
Yeah. So So trance mediumship. So it's called mediumship, but it's often the form of like a mental medium, where they remain conscious during the communication period and they essentially like free their mind, and like spirit can speak through the person.
Mm-hmm.
You can say it.
I don't need to use the G word.
It's pronounced spirit person.
Yeah. We're back, baby.
Yeah. Don't assume their gender, man.
Yeah, don't assume their corporeal form. Yeah, so this guy, George Colby, he traveled around. There's a spiritual camp outside of Cassadaga, New York. So then he eventually, with other people, purchased the town and got the approval to essentially build or buy or whatever it was, this area outside of Deltona, Florida. And they formed the town of Cassadaga, Florida. And it's got like the highest concentration of spiritual people or whatever, psychics, mediums, all that stuff. Yeah.
Wait, so he's from New York? He's from Cassadaga, or he just like... I'm confused. Why did he say Cassadaga, New York is cool? I want to make that in Florida.
I don't know. There's no real reason why he chose. I couldn't find out, because I tried to figure out that too. I was like, why would he just take there's already a place. So there's a place
I'm starting to see a theme. You guys found Florida men who like went above and beyond. I just found like normal Florida men that did like
they went below and that's it.
They met expectations.
Yeah, they went below the water to that dolphin, and so this.
Oh, I get it. Blowhole. That's funny. Below hole. That's good. It's not bad, Justin. All right.
It's not good though.
It's not. It's no evil corn evil.
No, it's not. Nothing beats that.
Listen, what is though?
You guys jokes are like night and day.
Yeah. The Knights. Yeah. All right. So this guy George Colby, he formed this. He settled this town. It's like kind of a small town, and it's loosely based on. There's like a place called Lilydale, which is a spiritualist camp that was outside of Cassadaga, New York. So he saw that, and he was like, I want to have my own Cassadaga, and so he. There's this concept of powerful spirits that can like teach people things, and you can like hear them multiple times. And so they're called spirit guides. So essentially you could trance and connect to a spirit guide, and they could tell you things that you might not know, like inform you, educate you, show you the future, that kind of stuff.
Is this kind of like the stuff like back in like Native Americans where they get in like a big tent and they like have a bunch of weed, and then all of a sudden they have like visions and stuff like that about their ancestors and stuff?
Like a spirit?
I would say that's. I would say that. Yeah, well, that's where they take like
Sherpas.
Yeah,
Sherpas. Shamans.
Like shamans, I think. Yeah, well, that happens in like the Southwest, and they take like peyote inside of the teepee and everything. Yeah.
It's like is that the goal for that too?
That sounds classier, to be honest, but
yeah, right. So I don't think it's like that, because that's like you're leaving your body and experiencing something like
that's
what you're
true
describing.
For that drug. Yeah.
For this, you're literally like, you've seen it where they have like in the early 1900s, late 1800s, they would be they'd like all get together and like channel spirits, like Ouija board style stuff. Like it became very popular, like spiritualism did. And so like the idea of the spirit guides, some spiritualists, they're specific spirits, they contact them often, and they relied on them for spiritual guidance. That's kind of like the deal. Well, this guy, George Colby, met a spirit guide that was an Indian, used to be an Indian, Native American. And
what does he know?
Well, he's a spirit now, but he was, so his name was, son of a bitch.
Thank you, Adam.
His name was Seneca, which I thought, wait, isn't the Indians, that's the tribe of Indians?
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
It's super lazy.
Same guy, same thing.
So he had this, right. So Seneca told him to go to Florida that's why he picked Florida, because Seneca told him to. I forgot. Right. That's why. Seneca basically was like, you should go to this area in Florida, and found a spiritualist camp.
With the same name as this place in New York.
Right. Well,
My favorite place.
On. Listen, I don't think that's Seneca talking. I think George Colby's just super uncreative, because he named the Senecan Indian spirit guide Seneca. And then he's like, well, I've already been to one spiritualist camp. What should I call it? Cassadaga, because that's what they're all called.
Move to Florida and create Casa Bonita.
Yeah.
That means beautiful house.
Perfect. Yeah, so he starts this thing, and they have, so it's got a lot of like, I started reading this and hoping it would have like a little more like spooky, mystical folklore about Florida's, not really. It's got some stuff. But like, I tried to like, what does it look like? Because I think I told you one of my teachers in high school said her father helped found it, and she was a little odd herself. She also told me at one point, like, her dad was in the military, and while they were driving like on a family trip, they pulled the car over, and he got everybody out of the car and went like 20 or 30 feet away from the car because they were listening, and told them that in his job in the military, he had seen aliens and knew they were real.
Oh boy!
And then they got back in the car and drove away. So yeah,
I will ask you after this podcast is over who that teacher is, by the way, because now I'm kind of, because same high school here. Yeah, now I'm half curious. But
you never had this teacher.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So spiritualism and mediums and all that stuff really hit like a peak in the late 1800s. Like in 1897, it was estimated that there were more than 8 million spiritualist followers between U.S. and Europe.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. Like that really kind of hit me as like, wow, that's a lot. And it largely, mostly they were drawn from middle and upper class people. Like they had like, it was.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
It's really interesting. A lot of the mediums were women. Like it kind of feels like they were just killing time a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it got out of hand. It existed for a long time without like any like written rules or official structure or any of that stuff. Like it, there wasn't even like a book where like, here's the beliefs of spiritualism. It just like, there was a lot of traveling mediums, and it all started breaking apart in the late 20s because a lot of mediums were frauds. And I mean, but like, we're like,
you don't say,
but they were like, what's the word? Bamboozling people out of money.
Yeah.
Right.
Selling
like,
snake oil type of thing. Yeah.
Right. That exact kind of stuff, where it would be a traveling salesman that would be scamming people. So so that's what it, back in the day. And it was like this place where like spiritualists, like it's still people go there to be engrossed or whatever in the spiritual side of life. But when I looked at like, okay, well, what does this place look like? Does it look like ye old spooky place? It's like real trashy looking. It was like, it looked like the Lego, it was like mobile homes, and like it has some buildings, but it's like, it's just very low income. And it's like, because if your job is I'm a psychic and that's my job, and I live in this trailer and I can do tarot.
I've always wondered about that. You go through cities and stuff like that, and you'll see like psychic signs and things. Yep. And I'm like, how do they afford the rent here? Is this possible? Like, I think the same thing when I see a Boost Mobile, but that's against the point. I don't understand how certain places stay open for business.
It's the exact same clientele.
How?
You can make a list of places that exist in Florida where you have to question how they're able to pay the rent, to be very honest. Yeah. Like businesses, like you're mentioning. Yeah. You could probably list off businesses where like, how does that place stay open? How's it been open for, it'll say like been around since 1914. And you're like, what the fuck? How are you still open?
Well, like maybe they own the building. Maybe that's how.
Yeah, but man, oh man, you got to pay FPL something. You know what I mean? Or
there used to be a psychic. It said psychic, and it had the palm with the eye in the middle of it.
Standard palm, yeah.
And it was downtown Melbourne. I used to see that a lot. There was a specific place.
It's probably still there somehow.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Somebody's going. My sister went to that palm reader. She has this like weird like palm reading thing.
I'd like to know what they
why are you grinning like that, weirdo?
I mean, I like the fact that places like that exist though, because like I feel like sometimes you're just like, if that was all wiped off the map, that would kind of be a little bit sad. It's like places like that, seeing like psychics and things like that too, like existing in our current day world is an interesting thing, and I don't disagree with all of it. But it's like things like that, like psychics are just like, how is this possible? Or like, I go by and I'm like, please don't ever shut down. However, how is this magic shop still open? Like, are people still buying magic tricks? And, I don't want them to shut down ever because I fucking love magic and magic tricks, but I don't know who the fuck goes in those places. You know what I mean?
Like, spoiler alert, magicians.
No wonder I can't see them. They're invisible as I walk.
I walk up and there's like, why is there always a puff of smoke right outside the store?
Why is there like, who's going in there? It's just like
just half a person.
The landlord shows up every now and then like, hey, you still owe me that rent. And then here it is. And it's an empty hand. They're like, all right, thank you, sir. It's invisible. I get it.
That is how. Yeah, I mean, I wonder that too. I've thought that too. And how do places that are just so like it's not a real business, but some people like this isn't really exactly related, but kind of related to Florida Man is like not tarot. Like what's when you're Sagittarius? What is that called? Your sign.
Astrology.
Yeah. So some people like look at that and like base their life on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like it's the same kind of people that they buy that every day, and they this may be
I guess there must be something recurring. Like when you're in it, you're in it, and you're locked in. So maybe there's just like consistent enough personnel or customers or whatever. I don't know. Anyway,
I mean, I'm sure there's like the one-off people that are just curious. Like I would go in just to see what it would be about.
Oh, I would too. Yeah,
yeah, I have before. Yeah, so
what did they tell you?
Yeah, they told me one day I'd have a podcast.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't go any further.
Yeah. This is it. No Silver Castle for you. This is it.
It turns out you are the Florida Man.
Yeah.
Florida Man.
It's peak of aspirations at low rent podcast and psychic shop. All right. So then there's something else in Cassadaga. So I was like, there must be something like spooky, right? And there's a graveyard there. And it's a county-owned graveyard, so nobody like gets buried there unless you request it, or there's some very specific circumstances to get buried here. But one of the tombs is what's called a devil's chair. You familiar with this? So,
no.
Okay, so the devil's chair is at some point, during the history there was a trend to build chairs as part of your gravestone, so that relatives could come visit and have a place to sit.
Cool.
It's pretty cool. So it's like a stone. I mean, sometimes they literally look like chairs where
like a throne.
It looks like a cushion, but it's carved out of stone. And sometimes it's just a bench.
It looks like a cushion.
Like it's like like the with the buttons on it.
I was thinking like a Game of Thrones throne.
No, I'm saying like it ranges from what you're picturing, like a like a Gothic throne, and ranges all the way to literally looking like a footstool with a cushion, but it's not cushion. It's made of concrete or made of stone carved. It's a whole range of things. Well, the one in Cassadaga.
Adam reacted like skeptical Florida Southern guy. Like it looks like cushion.
How the hell did they do that?
Dang, you're saying what? You say it looks like a cushion?
Hold my Bud Light.
Yo, Bucky, you hear that? He said it looks like a cushion.
It looks like a cushion.
The whole episode, I'm trying not to make that fucking voice. Good job.
Why? What? How can you do an episode about Florida without doing that voice?
We can do that voice. It's
yeah.
To us.
Yeah.
So
it's the only podcast that actually makes sense.
The myth of
I have friends that live in Florida. I can do that voice.
Me.
Yeah.
The term sometimes is called instead of a monument, it's called a monubench.
Yeah,
terrible,
of course
name.
It is.
But the legend is that if you
Solomon is just ruffling in his grave right now.
Oh God. So the idea is that, and I don't know if it's just on Halloween, but if you sit in the chair at midnight, the devil will come talk to you. So you can talk to the devil by sitting in this grave, side.
Spoiler
chair.
alert! It's a goddamn alligator. It lives in the swamp right next door.
2 foot. It'll be in the bathtub in the morning.
Yeah, he ain't gonna talk to you though. I'll tell you what.
So there is a devil's chair. So it's not just in Cassadaga. They're all over graves all over the place. But there is some noted ones, and there's one in Cassadaga. It's a graveside bench in the cemetery that borders Cassadaga and Lake Helen. And this is my Florida man story. According to one local legend, an unopened can of beer left on the chair will be empty by morning.
Yes. Yes.
I believe it. 100%. I believe that.
Do you any beer preference? Or,
it doesn't say, but I could guess that it's probably a light beer.
Yeah, you want to rattle a few off?
Light.
Yeah.
Yeah, some Natty Ice, some Bush,
PBR.
PBR's kind of made a resurgence as a hipster beer, though.
Yeah, it's top of the line.
Oddly enough, you can buy it out here, but it's more expensive than other beer.
Yeah, Milwaukee's best.
Yeah.
PBR. Yeah, you buy PBR in California, it's like more expensive than other beer, and I'm like,
I know it is it's like that here too.
Weird. I can have better beer for less, but whatever.
That's the cheap beer here. We just so that's
the devil's beer actually.
Yeah, it is, and so The devil is sometimes said to appear to anyone so bold as to sit in the chair. So that's the legend of the devil's chair in Cassadaga, Florida.
Mm-hmm. Is that universal? Like, is that a thing that's only there, or are there devil's chairs other places?
No, they're in England. They're all across. I mean, just looking up devil's chairs, there were multiple
I'm gonna look
famous devil's chairs.
Dang this.
So maybe it's my guilty Florida resident conscience, but can we name any like gems in Florida, that like secret hidden gems that you guys remember from when you lived there? Like
gems, like
spots,
actual nice places.
Well, spots that like we can't make fun of, type of a thing. You know what I mean?
No.
No.
I don't have a filter where I can't make fun of things, so I could probably make fun of anything.
Adam's still going though. He's like his eyes are clearly at the ceiling. He's thinking.
I'm trying to think of one thing.
Dude, I mean, almost nothing is really off limits.
Did
you know? Okay, so the only thing, one of the only things that's coming to my mind right now when talking about like stores and driving by places, because you do a lot of driving in Florida, because you don't walk anywhere in Florida because it's hella hot, and you have to drive by like 20 strip malls in order to get to anything you want to get to go.
Yeah.
There's a really cool, cheap movie theater that was down the street. They used to play like old movies. That was pretty cool. And then it turned really through the roof, and then they put up new movies there, and it was stupid. Okay. And then I liked how sometimes on the side of the road they'd have like some cool fresh produce, and or like some people would have those big like barrel grills that would just be grilling out like huge things of like steaks and stuff like that for real cheap.
Hot boiled
stuff like that was always cool.
So
yeah, that part was cool.
I'll elaborate. So have you guys ever been to the highest point in Florida?
Buck Tower.
Yeah, that's like a gem. Like that's a place that I can remember.
No.
Be okay. Yeah. It's like it's got a big like tower and like big gardens and like acres of like groomed land and flowers.
Oh, like nice actual places.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Can you think of any places? Yeah.
I love you.
2 for 1. 2 for 1 PBRs, Adam.
The only thing for me that's like that is the Gainesville, the UF campus for me. Is like the only place that I really just truly like in Florida.
Campus. Yeah.
It's really authentic. It's nice. It feels like, but it does feel like you're like in a northeastern campus. It feels like you're up like in Massachusetts at a college outside of brick and vines and stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's
doesn't
why
feel
it's the architecture. Yeah.
Florida architecture is kind of non-existent unless you count trailers.
I mean, it's probably because of the nature of. I mean, hurricanes, right? Isn't that why you can't build it a certain way, or is it just was it the style at the time?
That's probably part of it.
Well, plus there's no bedrock, right? Like you dig like 6 feet down, you're already hitting water. So
water.
Right, water table's low, and it's lime rock. Yeah,
but I feel like a place like St. Augustine always kind of stood out as like a nicer place to visit.
Yeah, I mean it's a little touristy, but it's got that old castle there from when they first arrived and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, de San Marcos.
We took field trips there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, there are, I maybe, like I said, I had a guilty conscience after reading all those Florida man stories. I feel like, shouldn't bash on it too much.
Well, you know what it is like, I think a big part of it is like the atmosphere of like theme park kind of stuff like pervades most of the state, I feel like. Or maybe I'm just sensitive to it and I see it everywhere because I grew up near the theme parks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I think everything is trying to cash in on tourism. That's why everything feels so cheap to me, because everything feels like disingenuous and it's trying to cash in on tourism.
Yeah.
I recently watched, there's a Willem Dafoe movie. It just came out like recently, and it literally takes place at one of those cheap hotel or motels outside of like Disney. That's like literally like a half hour away, but they're like really cheap. And so like nobody that's visiting Disney actually stays in that hotel. So it's like, it's really just like poor people who live there. Like it's an apartment complex, but it's actually a motel. So they just keep paying like the monthly dues type of thing, or they pay like the daily due. Yeah. It's like
for the whole month.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's really depressing. I can't remember the name of it, but like Willem Dafoe is like the main.
This is a recent movie.
Yeah, it's very recent. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a documentary style movie.
It is. It's documentary style. And there's like one, like, one of the residents that you're sort of following, like she has a daughter that lives with her in the hotel room, and she's a stripper, and it's very like, it's very Florida.
Should watch that. I wanted to see it.
Yeah. It kind of depressed me watching it, but it was like,
I will say I have just briefly on that same tangent about like good things in Florida or just unique experiences, I would say. Sorry to cut you off there, Justin.
No, you're good. You're fine.
And John. But the one thing for me that was interesting growing up or kind of during college and after college and going back and forth to Sarasota area is Sarasota on the West Coast is like, it's different probably than maybe from like where Melbourne, where it's like super Orlando kind of focus maybe. Like there was some theme park stuff. We did that sometimes, but like that wasn't like a huge focus in Sarasota. Like it popped up on the radio, but Sarasota's like where all the rich people have boats and stuff, and there's nice beaches, and people just dump a ton of money into their condos, and that pervades that whole beach area. So when I used to go out after
you're
college,
a rich boy.
well, I didn't live.
Get him.
But, yes, but when I used to go out like after college.
Oh, too good for 2-for-1 PBR, is you, Adam?
Yeah.
He doesn't even ride damn coasters.
They probably give him all his chicken nuggets.
A couple of my buds and I used to go to like, some clubs and bars, whatever, like after college, just like to go out in nightlife in Florida, which is there's not a whole ton of it that's like not really gross and cheesy. And where that is in Sarasota, so just for some clarification, the fictional city and town of where Cougar Town was created is technically between my city, Sarasota, and just below it. It's a non-existent place, but that's where Cougar Town was supposedly supposed to be.
What is Cougar Town?
Are you saying Cougar Town?
Yeah, Cougar Town was a show some years
Town.
ago.
About middle-aged women that go after younger guys?
Believe me,
Yes.
I know where Cougar Town is.
I'm sorry. I will not talk any longer. But anyways, so my experience on the West Coast is like this. There's a lot of cougars over there, and going to clubs and bars, it was like insane. Like there were some young people that were trying to get out and do and like dance and meet people, whatever too. But it's so hard to find like an authentic experience for young people to like meet in Florida specifically, because everything is like so closed off and like inside, but like in these weird scenarios and like weird buildings and like it's so we go to these places. There's a couple different places, and they were like filled with these cougars, and for some people that was cool. But for me, and for a lot of my friends, were just like, I don't understand. Like, it's so weird. But it was just like, if you made it up, there's like these older women that would like hit on these younger guys all the time, which maybe sounds like, as I said, cool to some people. But it was so awkward and weird because they're so forthright and they'll like buy you drinks. And there's just like this weird culture over there
like very
of like
aggressive.
these rich women that have had divorces or like wear like crazy jewelry because like they've just taken all this money from their like husbands and now they're looking for the next guy. There's like all this just like weird culture around it, and it was just
John
like
packing
bizarre.
his bags.
I was just about to say, like, Adam is like dissing this place, and the Florida man in me is like, "Where's the downside, Adam?" Rich, hot women are buying you drinks. I don't understand. What is your problem?
Meet me at that devil's chair and I'll meet me there.
God damn it, Adam.
Bush Light. Yeah.
You live a little and you take that goddamn PBR from that rich white woman and you just and you drink it up and you do stuff with her, all right? That's
Adam is just reeling John back home.
You're still, I'm like, where is this now? Sarasota?
Yeah. It's just a little bit of a different experience from like the East Coast to West Coast. It was just, I think I had some different experiences than maybe what you guys had over there. It's just strange.
So you on the West Coast, so maybe we should describe like where you're from to non-Florida people, like Tampa, Sarasota. That's like the same roundabout area. If I'm
yeah, Tampa's like an hour away. Tampa, St. Petersburg, and then Sarasota and Bradenton below that.
The middle West Coast, basically, where it's the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, so that's like Ybor. I remember Ybor City. I've been there.
Yeah.
I never went to Tampa that often, but I remember going to Ybor City, and like it's like New Orleans kind of.
Yeah,
like in the way it's laid out and like how old it is and stuff.
Yeah,
and, yeah.
It was like an old cigar factories are there, and old cigar manufacturing was there.
Like a party town. Yeah,
a little bit. It's not huge, but Ybor's it's a little dirty. It's a little shady. It's probably no. I was just gonna say you were kind of right in saying it's kind of like New Orleans, but like much smaller and nowhere near as cool.
That's what it reminded me of. Yeah, and Justin and I live in what I guess they call in Brevard County, which is what's called the Space Coast there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They have the zip code or area code is 321, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if your phone number is from there,
it wasn't always. But yeah, they added that.
Yeah, but basically, like Melbourne, where we kind of grew up, is like half beach town, but then you move inland, and then it's like swamp people.
It's kind of true, and it's like it's really really populated area, but it's just a sprawl. Like the downtown isn't really a downtown; it's like a block.
Yeah,
it's mostly just sprawling suburb, but with no city.
Yeah,
attached.
it is. Yeah.
Most of Florida is either weird woods or suburb or beach, right? That's like Those are the terrains that you get.
I like weird woods. That's a good.
Next week's episode, Weird Woods. Weird Woods. Yeah. All right. So yeah, it's interesting to me that Florida is so varied. I mean, there's Miami on one side, and it's this cultural center.
That's a whole other section of Florida.
Right. Like it's not really Florida. Part, it's not. It's not in Florida. And then there's, the area with the Cougar Town or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like Gainesville is like plucked from some other state, but dropped right here.
Oh, it is. Gainesville is an anomaly. It's like hipsters in this tiny little thing, and then on the outside, all rednecks and white trash, just like surrounding them, ready to pounce at any second. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In general, the local people, it's like a mixture of hippies and like country music people.
Folk. Yeah.
Right. And then the rest of Florida is just like, I mean, at some point there's like a swampy area with, the Lake Okeechobee, the giant lake down there. Like people live on like airboats and stuff, and that's their whole life. And it's just, it's what a weird, diverse.
It's diverse. Yeah. That's a good word. I mean, yeah. Yeah. But those people, the ones that have like the camouflage hats with the fishing lure on the brim, their truck has the Salt Life bumper sticker. I feel like I'm insulting like a million people right now.
No, that sounds natural.
Probably more than that. Yeah. So let me ask you some questions. So John, when you were reading, when you planned to do Florida Man stuff, did you think that going into it, what did you think you were going to find?
Well, to be fair, I already had somewhat of an idea of what I was running. Been around for like 5 years now. But I just, honestly, I was just looking for humor just to get you guys laughing and stuff. But because the headlines alone are just out of sight. But what I was looking for was like, what I was hunting for was like the stereotypical Florida man, like what personifies everything that Florida is in like 5 words. Because if you go 10 words, that's too much for a Florida man to read. So, so
like you're really trying to paint a picture of what embodied Florida man.
Like Florida man kills wife by beating a gator. You know what I mean, or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like
Florida man.
Yeah. Just something that would embody. But I really just found a lot of like crazy fucking stories. Like I totally forgot about the thing in Miami where the dude took, I can't remember which drug it was, but it's synthetic bath salts. Is that what it was?
That's what they called it.
He ate someone's face off.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yes,
so there's that one. That's the darker side of Florida, but it's just one shit kick away from like some of these other stories, to be very honest. So
yeah, I read somewhere that a lot of the heat and the humidity, just everybody being irritated by the heat and the humidity causes you to act, and you're outside, you're acting crazier. It's like a lot of low income people.
Do you think that causes that though? Do you think the heat is actually having that big of an effect?
I mean, I know that when there's like a traffic jam, that people handle it way worse if it's really hot out.
This is kind of interesting because in Chicago, in the dangerous parts of Chicago and the kind of the ganglands of Chicago, notoriously every year in Chicago, the most shootings that happen, there's like no shootings, and then all of a sudden it becomes 4th of July weekend. And 4th of July weekend is like the weekend that everyone's out doing stuff, and it's like usually the first like hot weekend, and some schools usually out around then too. It's just like everyone's out and about, and it's just hot, and it begins to get hot then. That weekend every year, as soon as like the first weekend of like that summer hits, shootings galore. Everyone's outside. There's scuffles that happen. It's just chaos. Yeah. It's like all of a sudden through the roof. It's only in certain specific neighborhoods, but that's like renowned to be like the worst weekend in Chicago every year.
Like, I wonder if we had a winter that forced people inside, we would probably have a lot less Florida man stories, because like half the year you couldn't be out being Florida man.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
So you get a lot more opportunity to be Florida man.
Yeah. Florida man flips Monopoly board. Yeah. And cocoa goes everywhere.
Yeah. Florida man spills hot chocolate, marshmallows escape.
Oh, what a charming wintertime story.
Stained grandma's couch. Yeah.
No, it'd be something like Florida man burns alligator in fireplace for warmth or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Then takes all Monopoly pieces and shoves it down her throat.
Florida man steals neighbors. Yeah. Florida man steals neighbor's mobile home with him still in it.
Thinks it's Santa's sleigh, drives it down street.
That title's way too long, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You already lost Florida man after the first 5 words.
Yeah. Florida man or redneck Santa. Yeah.
Oddly enough, I don't know if this is a product of just me being originally from New England, and that's where most families, but none of my friends in Florida spoke with a Southern accent. Maybe, I don't know if that's coincidence or like if I gravitated towards people who spoke the way I do, or if it's just, I don't know. I always wondered like why.
Yeah.
There's a lot of implants in Florida though too, right? Like
there are a ton of implants. Yeah.
Transplants.
Yeah.
Transplants.
Implants. The implants are actually at that.
There are a lot of implants in
A
Florida.
lot of implants there.
Holy moly!
You're still selling me on that place, Adam. I don't know what is so terrible.
That's a Freudian nip slip for you.
Jesus Christ.
That improv class is working for you, man.
Yeah, kill it.
Yeah.
So Adam,
you're gonna call me the DaVinci of Debris pretty soon.
Yeah. Jesus. So Adam, you researched the junk castle. What's it called again? Garbage Town.
Garbage Tower. No, Solomon's Castle.
Solomon's Castle. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had been there, right? So was that when we started talking about Florida, is that kind of what came to your mind first, or did you like explore some other ideas first?
It was shortly thereafter when we were talking about doing something about Florida. I think John was like really excited to do Florida Man story stuff, and I didn't want to tread on those toes. So I thought of
which
my
are exposed in
favorite
his sandals.
Because they were open in my flip flops.
Yeah, those baby steaks. I wanted to pick something else that I had personal experience with, because I would rather tell like kind of a personal, like a story from my perspective, since I haven't done that too much. Mostly it's been us researching stuff, but this is something I have firsthand knowledge with. So it's one of the few times I think that I'll have the experience before we go into it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I as soon as we said, what's the most kind of Florida thing that you can think of, I thought of that immediately.
Garbage Castle.
Yeah.
Florida Garbage Castle.
Yeah. The Prince of Puns.
Yeah.
The
I thought you guys
Sunshine
appreciated
State.
it.
It is Punchline State.
The Punchline State, of course.
Yeah, and then with
Sorry,
we
Adam.
started talking about Florida, and as far as Cassadaga goes, it's like something it's been like, it's this little bug in my brain that it's like this place that is kind of quintessential Florida stuff, like believing in psychics and having like this kind of very low income collection of things that, like, I don't believe in psychics, I don't believe in mediums, and it all seems like the kinds of Florida man would be flocking to that type of attraction, you know? And I don't know if they do, but like that. It
sounds cool to me. Like, it sounds like, at least maybe not cool, like maybe that's not the right word, but like it sounds interesting to me that like if I was nearby, I would go visit that place and see what it's all about.
I bet they hate it. I bet the people that live there hate it. I mean, not that they hate living there, but they probably think kids just come there to fuck with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
but you need people to like pay your bills to come and get the.
They have
spirits,
a bed and breakfast. Right? They have, you know, a spiritual center. They have like there's stuff there.
Yeah,
it's a very small town.
Yeah, I want to go to that devil chair.
Yeah,
I kind of would do too, actually. Yeah. Well, actually,
cushion. Sorry,
I'm going to Cougar Town first, actually, to be very honest. So.
Yeah,
it's not the coolest picture you've ever seen. I have to say.
Of the Devil's Chair or the Cougars?
Yeah,
Cougars Town is great.
Cougars Town's fine.
Yeah, the Devil's Stool is.
So there you go. Devil's Chair.
It's a cushion?
No, that one's not a cushion.
That's a chair. That's a brick chair.
Yeah, it's a brick chair, but it's on.
It looks just like a brick throne. I was thinking just like thrones and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. I actually, now that I think about it, if I'm not cremated, I want a sweet throne. You know what I mean?
Got it.
But then what if you put like a really realistic statue on the throne, and then people are like, "Well, who the hell's that guy?" And then he's got like a Bud Light in his hand, and they're like, "Whoa, we know who that is. That's Florida Man."
A Bud Light, yeah. But if you leave the Bud Light there, it'll be drunk by the morning.
You have a hand, like an open hand, so it's like it fits the beer perfectly, so you can put it in there overnight just to test it.
And it's got like a hand, yeah, smart. Yeah,
so
it's pretty good. I think it was a good topics, interesting stuff. Stuff I didn't. I mean, even though I've lived here for the most of my life, I learned a lot about Florida Man, to be honest, because I knew a lot about that kind of. All those stories individually I learned about, but Florida Man in general.
It's your life, man. It's your everyday life.
Sometimes you just got to get her done, you know? Gator done.
Okay.
I'm back.
Florida resident, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Larry the Cable Guy.
Old Dan Whitley.
Is that his name?
Dan Whitney, I think, is his name, yeah.
Oh.
So there's that.
Yeah.
Florida Man knows those kinds of facts.
Yeah, you knew those kind of facts. I was thinking about this is very loosely related. Remember that I got you a birthday card that said, you opened it up and it made a burping sound? And it was Larry the Cable Guy.
And it said, it's bad to...
It's better.
It's better to burp and taste it than to fart and waste it. Oh my God, how do I remember that? How do I remember that? It's better to burp and taste it than to fart and waste it.
And it said, it was literally the kid, better to burp and taste and fart and waste it.
Oh my God, that's the caption for this episode, by the way.
My goodness.
All right, so you can find us online at researchanddestroypodcast.com. If you have any comments or questions or want to hear a topic, you can email us at show@researchanddestroypodcast.com. You can find us on Facebook at researchanddestroypodcast.com. You can get all of our episodes on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher Radio. And if you like this episode, please go ahead and rate us 5 stars or however many the highest stars are on any of those services. That would be awesome. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
It's your story now. You decide what is right.